He had everything: private jets, million-dollar watches, women who called him 3 times a day. But when Daniel caught his girlfriend posting screenshots of his bank transfers with the caption "bag secured," something inside him broke. So he did what no billionaire has ever done. He disappeared, took a fake name, and got a job as a hotel cleaner. What he discovered about love will leave you speechless. Before we go any further, can I ask you for one small favor? This story took me days to write, record, and edit. Every frame, every emotion, every sound. It costs you nothing to support me, but it truly means everything. Please, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't, and comment your location below. I want to know where my amazing viewers are watching from. I read every single comment, and I'll be giving shout-outs in my next video. Today's shout-out goes to Benjamin from USA, Pauline from Jamaica, Chajin from Switzerland, and Maureen from Lusaka, Zambia. Now back to our story. Daniel Okonkwo wasn't just rich. He was stupid rich. His father owned hotel chains across 3 continents. At 28, Daniel had never worked a real day in his life. Everything came easy. Too easy. The text was from his girlfriend, Melissa. "Babe, the Hermes store just got new bags in. Can you send 200K? Love you." He sent it. He always did. But something made him open Instagram that night. There it was. A post from Melissa's private story. A screenshot of his bank transfer with 3 laughing emojis and the words, "When he asks what you need him for and you check your account. Bag secured, ladies." Her friends had commented, "Teach me your ways. You're eating good, sis." That's what I'm talking about. Daniel stared at his phone for 10 minutes without moving. Not one of them loves me. Not one. He thought back. Every relationship. Every date. They all started the same way. Big smiles when they Googled his name. Sudden interest after seeing his car. Love confessions that came right after expensive gifts. He'd never been loved for himself. Only for his last name. Only for the commas in his account. That night, Daniel made a decision that would change everything. He packed one bag. Left his Rolex on the dresser, took his oldest clothes, and walked out of his penthouse without telling a soul. Not his father. Not his driver. Nobody. By morning, he was on a bus heading across the city. Destination? One of his father's oldest hotels. The Hamilton Grand. A place he'd never visited. A place where nobody would recognize the owner's son. If I'm going to find someone who loves me for real, they need to meet me with nothing. Absolutely nothing. So you want the cleaning position? Yes, sir. My name is Kelechi. Kelechi Ease. Kelechi. A common name. A name that carried no weight. No private schools. No trust funds. Just a man looking for work. You ever cleaned before? No, sir. But I'm a fast learner. I need this job. The manager studied him. Something about this young man seemed off. Too polite. Too well-spoken for someone desperate for a cleaning job. But they were short-staffed. You start tomorrow. 6 a.m. Don't be late. As Daniel left that office, he looked down at his hands. Hands that had never held a mop. Never scrubbed a toilet. Never knew the weight of real work. Tomorrow, everything would change. Daniel arrived 15 minutes early. The staff room smelled like instant coffee and old lockers. Workers shuffled in, tired, talking about bus delays and rent payments. This was a world he'd never known existed. You must be the new guy. Kelechi, right? Yes, Ma. I'm Mrs. Adebayo. You report to me. Here's your uniform. Bathroom's down the hall. You have 5 minutes. He stood in front of the bathroom mirror in his grey cleaning uniform, name tag pinned crooked on his chest. Kelechi Ease. For the first time in his life, he was invisible, anonymous, free. This is Zara. She'll show you the ropes today. And that's when he saw her. Zara Nwosu, 25 years old. A waitress who picked up cleaning shifts for extra money. She had the kind of face that didn't need makeup. Natural. Real. And when she smiled, it didn't look practiced. Hi. Don't worry, it's not as hard as it looks. Just follow me. Thank you. She taught him everything. How to mix the cleaning solution. How to mop in straight lines so you don't leave streaks. How to fold towels the hotel way. She was patient, kind. She didn't judge him for not knowing. You'll get faster. First day is always rough. By noon, Daniel's back was screaming. His hands were red. He'd never been this tired in his life. This is what real work felt like. At lunch, he sat alone in the corner of the staff cafeteria. He'd brought nothing to eat, forgot that cleaners don't get catered meals. You didn't bring lunch? I forgot. Here. I always pack extra. She pushed half her rice and stew across the table. It was simple food, the kind he'd never eaten. But something about the gesture hit him deeper than any 5-star meal ever had. You don't have to. It's fine. We look out for each other here. That's how we survive. They talked. Really talked. She told him about her younger brother who was sick, about how she sent most of her salary home, about her dream of opening a small restaurant someday. Nothing big. Just enough. And Daniel listened. Really listened. Not because he had to, but because for the first time he was hearing someone's real dreams. Dreams that didn't involve spending his money. That afternoon, disaster struck. Daniel was mopping the lobby when the mop handle snapped in half. A guest had spilled an entire coffee pot, and Mrs. Adebayo was watching him like a hawk. Kelechi, what kind of nonsense is this? Clean it properly. Ma, the mop broke. I need to get another one from storage. I don't want to hear excuses. Clean it now. Here. Use mine. I'll get another one from storage. She handed him her mop without hesitation, smiled at him like it was nothing, then walked away before Mrs. Adebayo could say anything. Later that evening, something happened that shook Daniel to his core. You call this clean? I can still see marks on this mirror. What kind of incompetent cleaner are you? I'm sorry, sir. I'll clean it again. You people are so lazy. This is why you'll never amount to anything. You're just a cleaner. Excuse me, sir. He just started today. He's doing his best. If there's a problem, I can help fix it. Who are you to interrupt me? I work here too, sir. And we don't deserve to be spoken to like that. We're human beings. The guest stormed off, muttering under his breath. Zara turned to Daniel, checking if he was okay. Don't let people like that get to you. Rich people think the world owes them everything. You really believe that? I've seen it my whole life. They throw money around and think it makes them better than us. I can't stand rich men. They think everyone should bow down just because they have money. Daniel stood there, a lump in his throat. Here was a woman defending him, seeing him as human, as equal. and she had no idea who he really was. No idea that in another life he was exactly the kind of man she despised. As their shift ended, they walked to the bus stop together. The evening sun was setting orange and purple. Zara was telling a story about her childhood, laughing freely. I watched her laugh. Really laugh. Not the fake, polite laughter I was used to. Not the practiced giggles of women trying to impress me. This was real, pure, unfiltered joy. And for the first time in my life, I felt love without performance, without transaction, without fear that she wanted something from me, because she thought I had nothing to give. That night, on the bus ride to his tiny rented room, Daniel Okonkwo cried, not from sadness, but from relief. He'd spent his whole life drowning in gold, and it took becoming invisible to finally breathe. 2 weeks passed. Daniel learned more than just how to clean. He learned humility. He learned what it meant to be tired at the end of the day because you'd actually earned your rest. He learned the names of people he would have walked past in his old life, and he fell deeper in love with Zara. Every morning at 6 a.m. he scrubbed floors. Every afternoon he cleaned rooms where guests left tips on the dresser and never looked him in the eye. Every evening he took orders from supervisors who barely remembered his name. But none of it mattered, because at lunch he got to sit across from Zara. She told him everything. About her father who died when she was 12. About her mother who cleaned houses to put her through school. About the brother she was raising almost like a son. David is brilliant, you know, top of his class. He wants to be a doctor. I'm going to make sure he gets there, even if I have to work 3 jobs. You're raising him alone. Our mother died 2 years ago. It's just us now. But we're okay. As long as we have each other, we're okay. Daniel had never met anyone like her. She carried a weight that would have crushed most people. But she smiled anyway, laughed anyway, loved anyway. Melissa had cried once because her favorite restaurant was fully booked. Zara was raising a child on a waitress salary and never complained once. One evening, the hotel's backup generator broke down. The power went out during a storm. Guests were complaining. The manager was panicking. Nobody knew what to do. I can fix it. You're a cleaner. My uncle was an electrician. He taught me some things. The truth was simpler. Daniel had a degree in mechanical engineering from Oxford, a degree he'd never used because he never needed to. But now, in this moment, it mattered. He opened the generator panel, diagnosed the problem, rewired the connection. 20 minutes later, the lights came back on. Kelechi, you're a genius. Where did you learn that? I knew there was something special about you. That night, after everyone had gone home, Zara found Daniel sitting in the empty staff room. He was staring at his hands again. Those hands that used to sign checks. Now they were calloused, scarred, real. You okay? Yeah, just tired. You're not like other people, Kelechi. You're different. In a good way. Different how? Most guys I meet, they're always trying to prove something. Always putting on a show. But you're just yourself. No ego. No pride. Just real. He wanted to tell her everything in that moment. Wanted to say, I'm not real. I'm the biggest lie you've ever met. I'm exactly the kind of man you hate. But fear held his tongue. Because what if the truth destroyed this? What if knowing who he really was turned her smile into something practiced? Something fake? They left work together as rain began to pour. Heavy, tropical rain that turned the streets into rivers. "Oh no! I forgot my umbrella. I have one. We can share." They walked close together under that small umbrella. So close he could smell the cocoa butter in her hair. So close their shoulders touched with every step. "Can I tell you something? Anything. I've met a lot of guys. Guys who said they loved me. But they always wanted something. Wanted me to change. Wanted me to be less focused on my brother. Wanted me to have more time for them. But you've never asked me for anything. You just show up. Help where you can. Listen when I talk. If I ever meet a man who loves me without pretending to be perfect, who just shows up honestly every single day, I'll never let him go." Daniel stopped walking. Rain pounded the umbrella above them. Thunder rolled in the distance. He looked at her, really looked at her, and almost told her everything right there. "I'm not perfect. I'm not even honest. I'm a fraud. I'm everything you think you hate." But the words wouldn't come, because losing her felt worse than lying. What if someone wasn't who you thought they were? Would you still care about them? "Kelechi, you're so serious sometimes. Everyone has secrets. Everyone has a past. What matters is who you choose to be right now." They walked the rest of the way in comfortable silence. When they reached her apartment building, a run-down complex with peeling paint and broken railings, she turned to him. "Thank you for walking me home. Anytime. Kelechi. Yeah. I'm glad you got hired. I'm glad I met you." She went inside. Daniel stood there in the rain for 10 minutes after she left. Then he walked to the nearest puddle and stared at his reflection. Water rippled across his face. Half truth, half lie. Which half was real? The billionaire who'd lived in a penthouse? Or the cleaner who'd found something worth more than money? He didn't know anymore. 3 weeks into his new life, Daniel had almost forgotten about the old one. Almost. He'd stopped checking his phone, stopped thinking about board meetings and stock portfolios. His world had shrunk to this hotel, these people, this woman. But the past doesn't forget. And it was coming for him. "Did you hear? Someone's pretending to be poor in this hotel." "What do you mean?" "My cousin works at the head office. She said the owner's son disappeared weeks ago. They think he might be hiding somewhere in one of their hotels." Zara overheard the conversation but didn't think much of it. Rich people's drama didn't concern her. She had real problems. Her brother David's condition was getting worse. The medication wasn't working. Doctors were talking about surgery. Surgery that cost more than she made in a year. But she kept smiling, kept showing up. Because that's what she did. Then came the day everything shattered. A black Mercedes pulled up to the hotel entrance. Not unusual. Rich guests came through every day. But this car was different. This car belonged to someone who owned the building they stood in. Emmanuel Okonkwo, Daniel's father. A man who built an empire from nothing and expected his son to inherit it with pride. He wasn't supposed to be here. This location wasn't on his inspection schedule. But he'd gotten a tip. A strange tip about a cleaner who seemed too educated, too well-spoken, too familiar. "Sir, we weren't expecting you today. Random inspections keep staff honest. Show me everything." Daniel was on the 3rd floor, cleaning windows, when he heard the commotion. Staff rushing around. Managers panicking. Someone important had arrived. He should have hidden. Should have run. But where was there to run? He turned the corner with his mop and bucket, and there, 15 feet away, stood his father. They locked eyes. Time stopped. Daniel. Daniel. I thought his name was Kelechi. 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 You gave them a fake name? You're here mopping floors with a fake name? Staff members began gathering in the hallway. Whispers rippled through the crowd. Phones came out. Some people filmed. This was the kind of drama that would spread through the whole company by evening. Dad, I can explain. Explain? Explain what? That you abandoned your responsibilities? That you're embarrassing this family? That my son, my heir, is pretending to be a common cleaner? I needed to. You needed to what? Humiliate me? Your mother is sick with worry. We've had private investigators looking for you, and you're here playing dress-up like this is some kind of game? Through the crowd, Zara pushed forward. She'd heard the commotion, heard the name Daniel, heard the words, billionaire's son. Kelechi. What's he talking about? Daniel turned, and in Zara's eyes, he saw the exact moment her heart broke, the exact moment trust turned to betrayal, the exact moment real became fake. You're the owner's son? Zara, please, let me explain. Explain what? That everything was a lie. That you were pretending? That I was some kind of experiment? No, it wasn't like that. I shared my food with you. I told you about my brother. I told you things I don't tell anyone. And you were lying to me the whole time. Is this what you've been doing? Playing games with the staff? You're exactly like I said. You rich men are all the same. You think people are toys. You think you can play with our lives because you have money. Zara, I did this because every woman in my life only loved my money. I needed to know if someone could love me without it. Love you? You think I could love someone who lied to my face every single day? You think love is built on lies? She ripped off her name tag, threw it on the floor, and looked at Daniel one last time with eyes that used to see him as a friend. Now they saw only a stranger. I quit. I can't work somewhere that reminds me how stupid I was. Zara, please don't. Don't. Just don't. She walked away. Daniel tried to follow, but his father grabbed his arm. Let her go. We're leaving. Now. I'm not going anywhere. Yes, you are. This ridiculous experiment is over. You're coming home. Daniel watched Zara push through the hotel doors and disappear into the crowded street outside. He wanted to chase her, wanted to make her understand. But what could he say? What words could possibly fix this? She was right. He'd lied. Every day. Every conversation. Every shared meal. All of it built on a foundation of deception. That evening, Daniel sat in the back of his father's limousine, being driven back to his old life. Back to the penthouse. Back to the gold. Back to everything he'd tried to escape. His phone buzzed with texts from friends. Bro, you're trending. That video of you mopping is everywhere. When did you become a cleaner? He turned the phone off. The penthouse looked exactly as he'd left it. Marble floors. Designer furniture. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. A bed that cost more than most people's cars. He stood at the window, surrounded by everything money could buy, and felt emptier than he'd ever felt in that small staff room, lonelier than he'd ever felt sharing an umbrella in the rain. He had everything, and he had nothing. 3 months passed. Daniel went through the motions of his old life like a ghost. Attended meetings he didn't care about. Made decisions that meant nothing. Smiled at parties where every face looked fake. His father thought he'd gotten over it. Young people's drama, he called it. But Daniel hadn't gotten over anything. Late at night, he'd scroll through Zora's social media. She'd made her profile private, but he'd screenshot old posts before that. Pictures of her smiling. Pictures of her with her brother. Reminders of something real he'd destroyed. He'd drafted 1,000 messages. Deleted them all. What could he say? "I'm sorry I pretended to be someone else to test if you were real?" It sounded insane even in his head. Women approached him at galas. Beautiful women. Educated women. Women who laughed at his jokes and touched his arm and asked about his future plans. He saw through all of it now. Every smile was calculated. Every laugh was timed. Every question was a probe to see how much he was worth. Zara used to laugh because something was actually funny, not because she wanted something. "Man, you've been different since you came back. What happened at that hotel? I found something real. And I ruined it. It was just some girl, right? Plenty of fish, bro. She wasn't just some girl. She was the only person who ever saw me as human." Then, one evening, Daniel received an email. He almost deleted it thinking it was spam, but something made him open it. It was a hospital fundraising newsletter. They did spotlights on patients who needed help covering costs. And there, in the 3rd paragraph, he saw a name that made his heart stop. David Nwosu. Age 14. Diagnosis: acute leukemia. Needed surgery. Family unable to afford treatment. Daniel called the hospital immediately. Asked about David Nwosu. The receptionist confirmed it. Critical condition. Sister working multiple jobs to cover costs. Still short by hundreds of thousands of naira. The surgery needed to happen within 2 weeks, or David would die. How much does the family need? About 2 million naira, sir. It's a very expensive procedure. I'll cover it. All of it. But I need you to do it anonymously. They can never know it came from me. The next day, the hospital called Zara with news that would change everything. An anonymous donor had paid for David's entire surgery. Every test. Every medication. Every follow-up appointment. All of it covered. Who was it? Who paid for this? They requested to remain anonymous. Ma. All I can tell you is that someone out there wants your brother to live. Zara collapsed into a chair and cried. Cried from relief. From gratitude. From the overwhelming weight of a burden suddenly lifted. She'd been working triple shifts. Had sold everything she owned. Had been preparing to beg on the streets if necessary. And now, somehow, a miracle. David's surgery was successful. The doctors said he'd make a full recovery. Zara spent every day at his bedside, reading to him, joking with him, crying happy tears when he smiled. "Sister, you saved me. I didn't save you. Someone else did. Someone we'll probably never meet. Then I'll thank God for them every day." One afternoon, Zara went to the hospital cafeteria to grab food. She was exhausted but happy. Her brother was alive. That's all that mattered. She was walking down the hallway when she saw someone mopping the floor up ahead. A cleaner in grey uniform. Something about the way he moved looked familiar. She got closer. The man looked up. and time froze for the second time in their story. It was Daniel, but he wasn't dressed in expensive suits. He was wearing a cleaner's uniform, an actual cleaner's uniform from the hospital, and he was cleaning, really cleaning. Daniel. Hi. Zara. What are you doing here? Working. Working? You're actually working as a cleaner? Yeah. I started 2 weeks ago. Night shifts mostly. This hospital needed staff, so I applied. Wait. 2 weeks ago. That's when someone paid for David's surgery. I don't know anything about that. Daniel. Did you pay for my brother's surgery? He didn't answer. Didn't need to. Zara saw the truth in his eyes. Saw the way he couldn't look at her. Saw the way his hands gripped the mop tighter. Why? Because I couldn't let him die. I couldn't let you suffer like that. Not when I could help. You paid hundreds of thousands of naira for a boy you've never met. For a family that hates you. I didn't do it so you'd forgive me. I did it because it was right. Because you were suffering. And even though you'll never love me again, I still care what happens to you. Why are you working here? You're a billionaire. You don't need to mop floors. I wasn't testing you anymore, Zara. I was trying to be close to you again, even if it meant scrubbing these floors. Even if you never spoke to me. I just needed to be where you were, doing what we used to do together. You cleaned my heart long before you ever cleaned these floors. Those words hung in the air between them. All the anger, all the betrayal, all the hurt. It was still there. But something else was there too. Something that had survived the lies. Something real that refused to die. I'm so sorry. For lying. For pretending. For making you feel like an experiment. You were never that. You were the first real thing I'd ever found. Then why didn't you just tell me the truth? Because I was scared. Every woman I've ever met changed when they found out who I was. Their eyes changed. Their smiles changed. Everything became a performance. And with you, God, Zara, with you everything was real. I couldn't risk losing that. So you lied instead. Yes. And I was wrong. I was so wrong. Zara stood there, torn between every emotion a human can feel. He'd hurt her, lied to her, made her feel stupid. But he'd also saved her brother's life, asked for nothing in return, and was standing here in a cleaner's uniform, not because he had to, but because he wanted to be near her. I need time. To think. To process all of this. Take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere. She walked away. But this time, she looked back. Just once. And in that glance, Daniel saw something he'd thought was lost forever. A chance. A small, fragile chance. Emmanuel Okonkwo sat in his office overlooking the city. He'd built this empire from nothing. Started as a security guard. Worked his way up. Sacrificed everything for success. And now his son was throwing it all away for a girl. Or so he thought. Sir, your car is ready. The meeting in Lekki starts in an hour. Cancel it. Sir. I said cancel it. I need to go somewhere else. Something had been bothering Emmanuel for weeks. His son's words kept echoing in his mind. I needed to know if someone could love me without it. Had he raised his son in such a cold world that love felt impossible? Had wealth become a prison? He needed to see for himself. Needed to understand what Daniel had found. So he did something he hadn't done in 20 years. He drove to the neighborhood where Zara lived. The streets were narrow. Buildings were worn. Paint peeled off walls. Children played soccer with a deflated ball. Mothers hung laundry on balconies. This was the world his cleaners came from. The world he'd escaped. The world he'd forgotten existed. Then he saw her, Zara, sitting on a concrete step surrounded by children. She was dividing a small bag of bread among them, making sure the youngest got the biggest pieces. The children laughed, called her Sister Zara. One little girl hugged her tight. "Make sure you share with your brothers at home, okay? No fighting." "Yes, Sister Zara. When is Brother David coming home?" "Soon. Very soon. He's getting better every day." Emmanuel watched this woman who his son loved. She had nothing, less than nothing. She was struggling to feed herself. Yet here she was, feeding other people's children, taking from her own mouth to put food in theirs. This wasn't performance. This wasn't charity for a photo op. This was who she was when nobody was watching. He remembered something he'd buried years ago. Himself at 25, living in a small room, sharing his food with neighbors, helping people without expecting anything back. When had he stopped being that person? When had success made him forget what mattered? He got out of his car. His driver tried to stop him, but he waved him off. Emmanuel Okonkwo, in his expensive suit, walked across the dusty street to where Zara sat with the children. "Excuse me, Zara Nwosu, Mr. Okonkwo. May I speak with you? Privately? Go home now, okay? I'll see you tomorrow." The children scattered. Zara stood facing this man who represented everything she distrusted. Wealth, power, the ability to play with people's lives. "I came to apologize." Apologize? For what happened at the hotel? For embarrassing you? For treating you like you were nothing? You didn't treat me like nothing. You just showed me what I already knew. That rich people see us as entertainment. Do you know what I did before I had money? No. I was a security guard. Worked night shifts for 7 years. I know what it's like to be invisible. To watch rich people walk past you like your furniture. I swore I'd never forget where I came from. But I did forget. Somewhere between the first million and the 10th hotel, I forgot what it felt like to be human. To struggle. To need help. Why are you telling me this? Because my son didn't fall when he became a cleaner. He rose. He became more of a man in those few weeks than he'd been his entire life, and I was too blind to see it. He loves you. Really loves you. Not the way rich boys love shiny things, but the way a man loves a woman who makes him better, who makes him real. He lied to me. Yes, he did. And that was wrong. But do you know why he lied? To test me. To see if I was real. No. He lied because he'd never been loved for himself. Every woman in his life saw his last name before they saw his face. Every relationship was a transaction. He was drowning in gold, and nobody could see him sinking. Zara had never thought of it that way. She'd been so focused on her own hurt that she hadn't considered his. What must it be like to never know if love is real? To question every smile, every touch, every "I love you"? You gave him something money can't buy. You saw him. The real him. And that's why he's still working at that hospital. Not to win you back, but because for the first time in his life, he knows what honest work feels like. What honest love feels like. He paid for my brother's surgery. I know. That's not something someone does to win someone back. That's something someone does because they actually care. My son is at the Hamilton Grand right now. He's been there every day for the past week, cleaning the same floors where you two met. He says it helps him remember what matters. I came here to judge you, to see if you were worthy of my son. But I was wrong. The question isn't whether you're worthy of him. It's whether he's worthy of you. And I think he's trying to be. Emmanuel Okonkwo walked back to his car. But before he got in, he did something that shocked his driver. He took out his wallet, pulled out a stack of cash, and handed it to a woman selling oranges on the street. For the children in this neighborhood. Make sure they eat. His son had reminded him what he'd forgotten. That wealth means nothing if your heart is poor. That evening, Zara stood outside the Hamilton Grand, the place where this whole story began, where she'd met a cleaner named Kelechi who'd turned her world upside down. She'd thought about this moment for hours, days, weeks. Should she walk away? Should she protect her heart? Should she choose safety over the risk of being hurt again? But as she pushed through those doors, she realized something. Safe love isn't real love. Real love is messy, complicated, full of mistakes and forgiveness and choosing each other anyway. She found him on the 3rd floor. Same hallway where his father had exposed him. He was mopping. Really mopping. His technique had improved. You missed a spot. Zara, your father came to see me. He what? He told me about your life. About the women who used you. About why you ran away. Zara, I'm not asking you to forgive me. I just want you to know that I'm trying to be better. To be real. To be the man you thought I was. You want to know what I've been thinking about for the past 2 weeks? What? That day in the rain. Under the umbrella. Do you remember what I said? You said if you met a man who loved you without pretending to be perfect, you'd never let him go. And you're not perfect. You lied. You hurt me. You made me feel stupid. I know. I'm so. But you also saved my brother's life. You gave up your comfortable life to clean floors. You didn't run away when I was angry. You stayed. You worked. You showed me that even rich men can be real if they choose to be. She took his hands. Those hands that had signed million-dollar contracts. Those hands that now had calluses from honest work. Those hands that were shaking as she held them. You're not perfect, Daniel Okonkwo. But you're real. And that's enough for me. I love you. I love you so much. And I promise I'll never lie to you again. I'll never hide from you again. I'll be exactly who I am, flaws and all. I know. Because that's what real love is. Showing up honestly. Even when it's hard. They held each other in that hallway. A billionaire and a waitress. A man who'd had everything and a woman who'd had nothing. Both of them richer now than money could ever make them. Because they'd found something worth more than gold. They'd found honest love. Kelechi, you're not getting paid to hug. Back to work. Yes, Ma. I should probably help him. He's still terrible at mopping. And for the next hour, they cleaned that hallway together, just like they used to. Except this time, there were no lies between them, no secrets, no pretending. Just 2 people, choosing each other, choosing truth, choosing love. 3 months passed. Daniel didn't move back to his penthouse. He kept his small rented room, kept his cleaning job, not because he had to, but because it reminded him who he wanted to be. Zara continued working at the hotel. They'd eat lunch together, walk home together, live life together. His father would call sometimes, begging him to come back to the company. But Daniel wasn't ready. Not yet. He was still learning what it meant to be real. But today was different. Today, Daniel had a plan. He'd asked the hotel manager for permission, asked Mrs. Adebayo for help, even asked Zara's brother David for his blessing. Everyone said yes. The hotel lobby had been transformed, not with expensive flowers or crystal chandeliers, but with simple white lights, candles in glass jars, photos on the walls of Daniel and Zara working together, laughing together, living together. Zara had been told there was a special staff meeting. She came in her work uniform, confused why everyone was acting strange. Mrs. Adebayo led her to the center of the lobby, hands over her eyes. "Okay, child, open your eyes." Zara opened her eyes, saw the lights, saw the photos, saw the entire staff gathered in a circle, and in the center, kneeling on the floor he used to clean, was Daniel. "Daniel, what is this?" "Zara Nwosu, I met you in this hotel, in this exact spot. You were kind to me when I had nothing. You defended me when I was nobody. You loved me when I was just Kelechi the cleaner. You taught me that love isn't about who has more money. It's not about status or power or any of the things I thought mattered. You taught me that love is about who stays, who shows up, who sees you at your worst and chooses you anyway." He pulled out a small box, not a designer box, not something that cost 6 months' salary, just a simple ring he'd bought with money he'd earned himself, money from mopping floors and cleaning toilets and doing honest work. "I'm not asking you to marry a billionaire. I'm asking you to marry the man you fell in love with, the cleaner, the guy who burns rice and can't fold towels right and still needs your help with a mop bucket. You taught me that love isn't about who's richer. It's about who stays when you have nothing. And Zara, even when I had nothing, you stayed. So I'm asking, will you let me stay with you? Forever?" "Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes." He stood, slid the ring onto her finger, and kissed her while the entire staff erupted in cheers. Mrs. Adebayo was crying. The hotel manager was filming. Even the guests in the lobby stopped to applaud. Then, from the hotel entrance, someone else walked in. Emmanuel Okonkwo, Daniel's father, not in a business suit, but in casual clothes, looking more human than Daniel had ever seen him. "I hope I'm not late, Dad." "Zara Nwosu, I want to publicly say something I should have said months ago. This woman right here reminded my son what love is. She saw him when he was invisible. She valued him when he had nothing, and she taught him that character matters more than cash. You're not just gaining a son-in-law. You're gaining a father who respects you, who sees you, who thanks God that you found my boy when he was lost." Zara hugged him. This man who'd once embarrassed her. This man who'd learned, just like his son, that wealth means nothing without humanity. "I have one more announcement. Zara and I have been talking, and we've made a decision about our future." 6 months after that proposal, Daniel and Zara stood in front of an old building. The Hamilton Grand's original location. The first hotel Emmanuel Okonkwo ever built. It had been closed for years. Too old. Too small. Not profitable enough. But profit wasn't the point anymore. They'd bought it from Daniel's father for 1 naira, a symbolic price, and they were transforming it into something the world had never seen. Not a luxury hotel, not a budget chain, something different. They called it the honest place. Inside, the rooms were simple but clean, affordable, real. But what made this place special wasn't the rooms. It was who worked there. Single mothers who'd been fired from other jobs. Ex-convicts trying to start over. People with disabilities who'd been told they weren't hotel material. Young people from poor neighborhoods who just needed a chance. The honest place hired them all. This isn't just a hotel. This is a family. We don't care where you came from. We care about where you're going. And we're going there together. Daniel still wore his cleaner's uniform. Not every day, but often enough to remember. To stay humble. To show new staff that nobody was above honest work. The trick is to wring out the mop more. Less water means less streaks. You're the owner, sir. You don't have to do this. I know. But this is how I met my wife. Cleaning floors. And it's still the most valuable work I've ever done. Zara ran the front desk with the same warm smile she'd always had. Guests didn't come to the honest place for luxury. They came for peace. For a place where they were seen as human beings, not credit card numbers. Zara's brother David was healthy now. Thriving. He'd gotten into medical school on a full scholarship. He'd visit the honest place every week, helping out, studying in the lobby, reminding everyone why they did this work. Sister, I got my exam results. Top of the class. I'm so proud of you. It's because of you. And Daniel. You both showed me that where you start doesn't determine where you finish. Every Sunday, the honest place hosted free meals for the neighborhood. The same children Zara used to feed on the streets now had a safe place to eat, to play, to dream. Emmanuel Okonkwo visited often. He'd serve food alongside his son, talk with the children, remember what it felt like to be hungry, to need help, to be human. My son taught me something I'd forgotten. That success isn't measured in profits. It's measured in people, in lives changed, in love given. One evening, Daniel and Zara stood on the rooftop of the honest place. The city sprawled before them, lights twinkling, life continuing, dreams being born. Do you ever miss it? The penthouse, the luxury, the easy life. Every day. Really? I'm kidding. I don't miss any of it. This is richer than anything I ever had. We're building something real. Helping real people. Living a real life. People think we're crazy, you know. They say we could have opened another luxury hotel. Made millions. Let them think that. They don't understand that we already have millions. Millions of moments like this. Millions of reasons to wake up happy. Millions of ways to measure wealth that have nothing to do with money. Below them, a new guest checked in. A woman with tired eyes and a small suitcase. Running from something. Looking for peace. The front desk clerk smiled at her warmly. Gave her a room key. Told her she was safe here. That's what the honest place was built for. Safety. Truth. Second chances. On the main wall of the lobby hung a photo. Daniel and Zara's wedding photo. Not taken at a fancy venue. Taken right there in the honest place. Surrounded by staff. Surrounded by community. Surrounded by the family they'd chosen. In the photo, Daniel wore his cleaner's uniform. Zara wore a simple white dress. Both of them were laughing. Really laughing. The kind of joy that money can't fake. The honest place became more than a hotel. It became a movement. Other people started opening similar places. Hotels that valued people over profit. Businesses that measured success in lives changed, not dollars earned. Daniel had pretended to be poor to find true love. But what he found was far richer than he'd ever imagined. Not gold, not power, not status, but something that would last longer than any fortune. Peace, purpose, and a love built on the only foundation that matters, truth. Years later, when people asked Daniel if he regretted giving up his billionaire lifestyle, he'd smile and say the same thing. I didn't give up anything. I traded gold for peace, luxury for love, a penthouse for a home, and I'd make that trade again every single day. Because at the end of the day, the richest people aren't the ones with the most money. They're the ones with the most love, the most purpose, the most peace. Daniel Okonkwo learned that lesson cleaning floors, and he never forgot it. He pretended to be poor to find true love, but what he found was priceless. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe for more stories that remind us what truly matters. And remember, the price of honest love is everything, but it's worth it.